we've got another fallacy for you, and we've actually, I think, touched on this early on in this this series, but we're coming back to it kind of in its own dedicated form, right? And we're going to be talking about the appeal to the stone, argumentum ad lapidem, argumentum ad lapidem, and which is dismissing a claim as absurd without providing any argument as to why, right? It's very closely related to proof by assertion, where you just assert that something is true, but you don't provide any argument, right? We also have to recognize, and I bring this up, and I always put the definition of this in the Substack with every single one of these, right? Pointing out a fallacy does not make conclusions wrong, right? Just because an argument is incorrect does not mean that the ultimate conclusion is incorrect. And that is something that we have to be careful of. But this is a big thing, right? Some of you may be familiar with what's called Hitchens' razor. Christopher Hitchens, in his arguments about atheism versus theism, right, was that any statement that you can make without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. And while that is a funny and quippy thing, there is actually just a counter to that, which is this, right? If you want to claim that somebody is wrong, it is very important. And granted, they are saying absurd. They're not going to just saying somebody is wrong, but like they're talking about absurdity. It's going another level, right? But if you want to claim that somebody is wrong about something, it is actually pretty important to provide the counter to their argument, right? The entire point of argumentative discourse is that you actually are trying to create trains of logic and presenting evidence almost in legalistic fashion, so that you are creating a case for why your conclusion is correct. And so to just, make a counterclaim on somebody, as in asserting that they are wrong without providing evidence, is not particularly useful. Now, of course, we have the burden of proof. The burden of proof is on the person making the claim, for sure. And that's kind of what Christopher Hitchens, Hitchens' razor is talking about, right? Is if you do not meet the burden of proof, then we're going to dismiss what you're talking about. But if we're talking, about, more complex and nuanced arguments, assuming that they have made a claim or drawn a conclusion based on certain evidence that they think is relevant, and you go, no, you're making a mistake here, it is important that you provide the counterexample. And we see this in martial arts all the time, right? And I've done so many videos talking about, like, how much should we call fraud on people? How much should we call stuff McDojos? How much should we call stuff bullshit? How much should we call stuff fake martial arts? How much should we say this training doesn't work, or this technique doesn't work, or this style doesn't work, or whatever? People get so tribalistic about this stuff, and almost nobody ever shares any evidence, or their evidence is as deep as, well, you don't see it happen in the UFC. And we've discussed before, like, that is not the ultimate metric for things. It's a good metric for a lot of things, but it is not the ultimate metric for things. For example, mixed martial artists actually tend to be pretty poor strikers. Saying somebody is a good striker in mixed martial arts is kind of like saying, hey, you're pretty strong for a girl. It's the same vibe, right? Being a good striker in mixed martial artists is not going to make you stand toe-to-toe with a boxer. Now, look, I know Conor McGregor did all right, but there's also questions as to how fixed that was and all that. But let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, he did all right, right? But generally speaking, right, the UFC or mixed martial arts in general is not the ultimate proxy for everything. It's just not. There are contexts and factors that exist well outside of MMA that are going to change how conflicts happen, right? So again, dismissing something as absurd, as bullshit, as fake, as whatever, is not going to be a particularly useful tactic, other than to just, again, this is really an appeal to emotion, right? I mean, you could just start checking off a bunch of fallacies on that. what you're doing is politicking at that point. You're not actually making an argument. And you can look at something as questionable, but then it's important to actually have discourse about it. And it is important to, discuss pros and cons and stuff. The problem is most people are not equipped to handle those arguments. And so they just resort to, just kind of vitriolic, lambasting, and that's it. So just keep this in mind, right? Is like dismissing a claim is really just kind of almost the inversion of proof by assertion, right? You can't just assert that something is true or assert that something is false. And despite Hitchens' razor, you really can't just dismiss claims, even though the burden of proof is on the person making the claim. It is really important to have that discourse and provide argumentation as to why you disagree. That is the entire purpose and point of discourse. Let's be better. All right, I'm out of here. Talk to you guys later. Good journey. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Check us out on our other socials, and please head over to blacksunboxing.com to get a little more info, including how to contact us. Furthermore, if you are in the Phoenix area, please feel free to stop in, say hi, join in for a class, whatever. Also, if you ever see us cite sources or just for additional content, please check out our Substack. That is where we put all of the sources we use in our videos and is a major part of this. Plus, it serves as a membership platform for long distance learning and for people who would like to support us but aren't local. We would greatly appreciate it if you signed up. Even just the free membership helps us out a lot. All right, I will see you guys in the next video. Good journey.